All right, colleagues, good morning. I'm going to give you a chance to rest your arms for a minute here. But good morning, good afternoon, good evening to those of our colleagues who may be joining us at all of our embassies and consulates around the world and at our other Department of State facilities across the United States. Thank you, wherever you are, whatever you're doing, for stopping for a few minutes to join us in saying farewell and paying tribute to our Secretary of State. Everyone participating here has chosen to serve the nation, our fellow citizens, and each other. And those of us who chose to raise our right hand and take that oath of office know what a privilege it is every day to serve the nation. Every day. We also know that service often comes with a cost. Long hours, missed family events. For those who serve overseas, there are other costs. Exotic ailments, isolation, sometimes danger. We have a lot of people who serve in harm's way. And sometimes there is an additional cost. And that is the cost and the price of being misunderstood. Despite our best efforts to communicate why we act as we do, why we make the choices we make on behalf of our fellow citizens to protect this great nation and advance its interests around the world in a very complex, dynamic, challenging world. No one's service has been harder than our leader, the Secretary of State. Not because he has the most dangerous role or works the longest hours, although that sometimes is true. It's because all of the hardest decisions, the most consequential choices, and the most painful trade-offs land on the Secretary. Not on the Secretary's desk, on the person, on the shoulders of the person who is in this office, who has sworn that oath. And the weight of those responsibilities is immense. Many of you will remember that the last clause of our oath of office commits us to well and faithfully discharge the duties of the office that we enter. Mr. Secretary, I know I speak for all of my colleagues here in this room, in the department, at our facilities around the nation, and at our embassies and consulates and missions around the world. I know they all believe as I do that you have met that commitment and you have kept your oath. It is now my great honor and privilege to introduce to you the man who has carried that weight for 4 years and led this storied institution with integrity, compassion, and resolve. Ladies and gentlemen, the 71st Secretary of State of the United States of America, Antony Blinken.
Thank you. Thank you. Thank you, everybody. Thank you. Please take a seat. To John Bass, I will be forever indebted for your partnership, for your leadership, for your friendship. No finer Foreign Service officer in this generation than John Bass. And if you'll allow me the privilege of just mentioning a few people as we get started, people who've been with me every step of the way, starting with the heart and soul of this institution, my Chief of Staff, your Chief of Staff, Susie George. Tom Sullivan, my extraordinary policy partner, every step of the way these last 4 years. Jess Wright, our unflappable problem solver, every single day. To two extraordinary leaders, our Deputy Secretaries, Kurt Campbell, Rich Verma. And their extraordinary predecessors, Wendy Sherman and Brian McKeon. To our remarkable undersecretaries and assistant secretaries and all the leadership of this department. To my executive assistant, Paul Narain, and our special assistants. To Juliet, to Tina, to all the OMS who've kept us going every single day. And probably to everyone in this room today. 32 years ago, I walked through those C Street doors. I took the elevator up to the 6th floor, to the front office of what was then the Bureau of European and Canadian Affairs. I walked into my new office. Its previous occupant had been a very large safe. There was barely room for a desk. Those of us who are old enough to remember, one of those huge wine computers. And as I like to say, over 32 years, I moved up one flight from the 6th floor to the 7th floor and got some windows, so not bad. The Cold War was over. We were entering a new era, a time of hope, possibility, what was famously thought to be the end of history. Didn't quite turn out that way. But here we are 32 years later, and that post-Cold War era that was just starting when I started is over. We're in a new time, a moment where there's an intense competition going on to try to shape what comes next. Revisionist powers challenging us and the rules of the road that have governed how we've lived and operated for so many years. Global challenges that affect every single one of our citizens and from which no one is immune. We have new actors who, whether they're a corporation, an NGO, a group of individuals, all now super empowered by technology and by information. If we can bring them together, we can solve problems much more quickly, much more effectively, but they also have a greater ability than ever before to disrupt and to derail what we're trying to do. In short, this is a period, and in my experience over 32 years, I've never seen anything quite like it, where there's a greater multiplicity, complexity, interconnectedness of challenges than ever before, moving at warp speed. We're in a world that's more combustible and more contested, a world of change. But even in that world of change, I hold on to some core beliefs, some constants that I wanted to share with you today. I believe in the power and the necessity of U.S. engagement and U.S. leadership. We know when we're not engaged, when we're not leading, then likely someone else is, and probably not in a way that advances our interests and values. Or maybe no one is. And then you're likely to have a vacuum that's filled by bad things before it's filled by good things. But equally, I believe in the power, in the necessity of cooperating and working with others, of our alliances and our partnerships, our comparative advantage around the world. America is so much better off when we're working with others, finding common cause, finding common purpose. And I believe in our ability, when we're at our best, unlike any other country, to rally others in common cause and common purpose. But maybe most important, I believe in you, in each and every one of you in this institution. You're the ones who are showing that engagement and that leadership every day. You're the ones who are building those partnerships, strengthening our alliances. You're the ones who are rallying the world in common cause when we need it most. You're driven by passion, commitment, expertise, patriotism. We come from different places, different experiences, different motivations and backgrounds. But I think what brings all of us together in this place, in this time, is that unique feeling that you get going to work every single day with the stars and stripes behind your back. I've watched you, I've worked with you, I've been inspired by you. I've seen you run into the burning buildings, not away from them. I've seen you get that peace agreement across the line at the last minute. I've seen you make sure that food and medicine can get to people who need it. I've seen you get Americans out of harm's way and get political prisoners out of jail. You serve in some of the hardest places. You ask the hardest questions. And you know that you have the extraordinary privilege of representing this country, representing our fellow citizens every day around the world. I believe in this community because that's what it is, a community. Whether you're in DS or driving our cars, whether you're a political econ officer, whether you're a political appointee, whether you're here issuing passports and getting visas to people, whether you're in public affairs, administration, protocol, human resources, whether you're an EFM or an LES, a family member, because you too serve and sacrifice. You're a community, and I've seen you come together time and again as a community, and I believe in you. As I look out at this incredible group, some of you have heard me say this before, I often think of my favorite movie, one that back in the day, if you were turning the channels of the TV, you couldn't avoid around Christmas time. It's a Wonderful Life. And for those of you too young to really know the movie or remember the movie, simply put, at the start, the character, George Bailey, is thinking of taking his life because he thinks he's been a failure. He thinks he's let down his town, his community, his family. And then an angel taps him on the shoulder and shows him through the course of the movie what life would have been like in Bedford Falls for his family, for his community, for his town. And we see the difference that George Bailey made every single day. You are the Georgette Baileys of our time. Without you in the picture, this world, our country, would look so much different. With you in the picture, both are so much better. You're working every day to make things just a little bit better, a little bit more peaceful, a little bit more full of hope, of opportunity. That's your mission, and you do it so well. Now, this is a time of transition. And when we talk about transition, sometimes we talk about passing the baton. That's what I'll be doing. But that's not what most of you will be doing. Most of you, come Monday, you will keep running. And what gives me more confidence than anything else is to know that that's exactly what you'll do. I return to the highest calling in a democracy, that of being a private citizen. I'll no longer have the privilege of leading this institution, but I want you to know, I'll be its champion. I will be your champion forever. You, the custodians of the power and the promise of American diplomacy. Carry on. Thank you, thank you, thank you.